One checked his security tablet for the third time that hour. Station was hosting another diplomatic reception, which meant more work for him and his team. The massive space station floated in neutral territory, a place where dozens of alien species came to trade and talk. As a human security contractor, one had seen almost everything in his 5 years here. Almost. He stood at his post near the main corridor, watching elegantly dressed aliens move past him toward the reception hall. His armor felt heavy today. Maybe he was just tired. The promotion results for chief security would be announced next week, and everyone knew it would go to Min again. Min was one of the most advanced species in this sector. They looked almost humanoid but had 4 arms instead of 2, skin that shifted colors with their moods, and reflexes twice as fast as any human. Min was good at his job, better than good. He won every competition, every evaluation, every chance for advancement. The fact that he had natural advantages did not matter to the promotion boards. Results were results. One did not hate Min. How could he hate someone for being born with gifts? But the constant losing wore him down. He worked harder, studied more, trained longer. It never seemed to be enough. The other humans on the station told him to give up, to accept his place. But giving up was not in one's nature. His tablet buzzed, a message from command, all clear at diplomatic wing, family settled in private quarters, maintain standard patrol. The family, that would be Min's mate and their twin offspring. One had seen from a distance a few times. She was a high-ranking diplomat, beautiful by any species standards, with the bearing of someone born to power. The twins, Youngmi and Ho, were in their larvae stage. Children looked like smaller versions of adults but moved differently, still learning to control all 4 arms. Min never talked about his family at work, kept personal and professional lives completely separate. It was one of their cultural rules. One understood that. He kept his own life private too, though for different reasons. There was not much to tell. Work was his life these days. The reception started without incident. One relaxed slightly. Maybe tonight would be boring after all. Boring was good in security work. Boring meant everyone stayed safe. Then the explosion started. The first blast came from the commercial sector, far enough away that one only felt a tremor through the deck plates. His tablet screamed alerts. Red warnings flooded the screen. The second explosion was closer, in the residential ring. The third hit the diplomatic wing. One's training kicked in before his mind fully processed what was happening. He was already running toward the diplomatic wing when the emergency lockdown sirens began wailing. His comm unit exploded with voices, everyone talking at once. Command trying to coordinate. Security teams reporting in. Civilians screaming. Terrorist attack, someone shouted over the comm. Multiple targets, all units respond. One ran faster. The diplomatic wing housed dozens of alien families, including Min's. The corridors filled with smoke. Emergency lights cast everything in red. He passed injured aliens stumbling away from the blast zone. He should stop to help them. He should wait for backup. He should follow protocol. He kept running. The diplomatic wing was chaos. Fires burned along the walls where the explosion had torn through the hull. The emergency force fields were holding, keeping the atmosphere in, but they would not last long. Debris covered everything. The ceiling had partially collapsed. One heard crying somewhere ahead. Youngmi, Ho. The voice was small, terrified. The larvae were calling for their mother. One climbed over a fallen support beam and squeezed through a gap in the wreckage. The heat was intense. His suit's environmental systems struggled to compensate. Sweat poured down his face. He could hear the children more clearly now. They were close. The nursery door was blocked by twisted metal. One pulled at it, but it would not move. He braced his feet against the wall and pulled harder. The metal groaned. His muscles screamed. The door shifted slightly. Not enough. He looked around desperately. A damaged conduit hung from the ceiling, sparking. One grabbed it. ignoring the electric shock that ran through his gloves and used it as a lever. The door gave way with a shriek of tortured metal. Inside, the nursery was destroyed. Furniture had been thrown against the walls. Toys were scattered everywhere. And there, trapped under a collapsed section of ceiling, were Youngmi and Ho. The twins stared at one with wide, terrified eyes. Their skin flashed bright yellow, the color for fear. They had probably never seen a human up close before. To them, he was just another alien, maybe another threat. "It's okay," one said, keeping his voice calm. "I'm here to help." He assessed the situation quickly. The ceiling section was too heavy to lift, but he could shift it enough to pull the children out one at a time. The problem was time. The force fields were failing. He could see the shimmer of the barrier growing weaker. When it collapsed, this whole section would decompress. One wedged himself under the debris and pushed upward with his legs. Every muscle in his body strained. The metal groaned but lifted slightly. "Come on," he gasped to Youngmi, the closer twin. "Crawl out, now." Youngmi hesitated, looking at her brother. Larvae were telepathically linked. They felt each other's emotions. Ho was more scared than his sister. "I'll get him too," one promised. "But you first, please." Youngmi crawled out, all four of her small arms moving in an uncoordinated scramble. As soon as she was clear, one lowered the debris carefully and repositioned himself. His back was already screaming in pain. He pushed up again, harder this time. "Your turn, Ho. Come on, buddy." Ho crawled out faster than his sister. The moment he was clear, one let the debris drop. He sagged against the wall, breathing hard. No time to rest. The force field was nearly gone. He scooped up both children, one under each arm. They were lighter than human children, but still awkward to carry. They clung to him, their small hands gripping his armor. He could feel them shaking. The corridor back was worse than before. The fire had spread. The force field gave out just as one reached the emergency bulkhead. The air shrieked as it tried to escape into space. One threw himself forward, the children clutched tight and hit the bulkhead control. The heavy door slammed shut behind them. They were in the safe zone now, but one did not stop running. He had to get the children to medical. He had to make sure they were okay. His suit alarms were screaming at him. Radiation warnings, burn warnings, air quality warnings. He ignored them all. He burst into the medical bay and handed the children to the shocked doctor on duty. "Min's offspring," he managed to say. "From the diplomatic wing. Check them. Make sure they're okay." The doctor took the children, calling for assistance. Youngmi and Ho were crying now, reaching back toward one even as the medical staff examined them. He wanted to stay, to make sure they were truly safe, but his legs would not hold him anymore. One collapsed. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was Min running into the medical bay, his 4 arms reaching for his children. This face was a mix of relief and something else, something one could not identify. Then everything went black. One woke to the steady beep of medical equipment and the smell of antiseptic. His whole body felt like it was on fire. He tried to move and immediately regretted it. Pain shot through him from dozens of places at once. "Don't move," a calm voice said. A medical drone hovered into view, its sensors scanning him. "You have been unconscious for 3 weeks. Your injuries were severe." 3 weeks. One's mind struggled to process that. He remembered the explosion, the fire, the children. "Youngmi and Ho," he croaked. His throat felt like sandpaper. "Are they?" "The larvae are completely healthy," the drone replied. "Thanks to you. Now rest. I will inform the doctors you are awake." Over the next few days, one learned the full extent of what had happened. The terrorist attack had been coordinated, targeting multiple species' diplomatic quarters. 17 people had died. Dozens more were injured, but the wing had been the primary target. Intelligence suggested the terrorists wanted to kill children specifically. Youngmi and Ho were not just any larvae. They carried special genetic markers that gave them diplomatic immunity across multiple star systems. Their deaths would have created an interstellar incident, possibly even war. One had saved them without knowing any of this. He had just known they were children who needed help. His own injuries were extensive. Second-degree burns across 30% of his body, radiation exposure, 3 cracked ribs, a concussion. The doctors said he was lucky to be alive. One did not feel lucky. He felt like he had been hit by a cargo hauler. On the 4th day of his consciousness, came to visit. One had never been this close to her before. She was tall, even for a, with skin that shifted between deep blue and purple. Her forearms moved with perfect grace as she entered his medical room. She wore formal diplomatic robes that probably cost more than one made in a year. "One," she said, her voice musical. I believe you know who I am." "Yes, ma'am." One tried to sit up and failed, everything hurt. "Please do not strain yourself." Moved closer, studying him with eyes that seemed to see right through him. "I have come to thank you. You saved my children's lives." "Just doing my job, ma'am." "No." Skin flashed red, a color one had learned meant strong emotion. "You went far beyond duty. You risked your life for my offspring when you had no obligation to do so. In culture, this creates a life debt, a sacred bond that must be honored." One shifted uncomfortably. "I don't need anything, really. I'm just glad they're okay." His expression was unreadable. "That is not how this works. Among my people, a life debt is absolute. It must be repaid. I am required by law and honor to remain close to you, to learn what you value, and to find appropriate compensation." "That's not necessary." "It is very necessary." Settled into the chair beside his bed. "Tell me about yourself, one. What does a human value?" Over the following weeks, visited every day. At first, the conversations were formal, almost like interviews. She asked about his family back on Earth, his career goals, his hobbies. One found himself talking more than he had in years. There was something about that made him want to open up, to share things he normally kept private. He learned about her too. She had been raised in the imperial court, trained from birth for diplomacy. Her mating with Min had been arranged when they were both young, a political alliance between two powerful families. They respected each other, worked well together, but there was no love between them, not in the human sense. "Do not mate for emotion," explained one day. "We choose partners based on genetic compatibility and social benefit. Love, as you call it, is considered irrational." "Sounds lonely," one said. Skin flickered, colors shifting too quickly for him to identify. "I never thought so before, but talking with you, learning about human relationships, I begin to wonder." The station had promoted one to chief security while he was still in medical. The announcement had been made galaxy-wide. The human who saved the diplomat's children. A hero. One did not feel like a hero. He had just done what anyone should do. Min had not visited, not once. One understood. How could his rival face him? One had saved Min's family and in doing so had taken something from him. Thus pride, maybe. His position as primary protector. It was complicated. When one was finally released from medical, he found Youngmi and Ho waiting outside his quarters. The twins had grown in the weeks since the attack. They looked healthier, stronger, and they looked at one with something like worship. "You saved us," Youngmi said in careful standard. Her accent was thick but understandable. "We want to thank you," Ho added. "You don't need to thank me," one said. "I'm just happy you're safe." But the children did not leave. They followed him as he walked to the security office. They waited outside while he worked. When he went to the cafeteria, they were there. The station's other residents started to notice. Larvae following a human around like ducklings following their mother. Found him one evening in the observation deck. One was staring out at the stars, trying to clear his head. The children were finally asleep in their quarters. He had checked on them personally, something he found himself doing every night now. They have imprinted on you, said quietly, standing beside him. Imprinted. Offspring bond with whoever they perceive as their primary protector. Usually this is their father, but Young Mi and Ho have bonded with you instead. It is problematic. Problematic how? It weakens their bond with men in our culture. This is shameful. It suggests he failed in his duty to protect them. Skin was dark gray, a color one had learned meant sadness or worry. He is very angry. I didn't mean to. I know you did not intend any of this, but intent does not change reality. Turn to face him fully. Men will not forgive you for this. He sees you as stealing his family's honor. What can I do? Nothing. The imprinting cannot be reversed. Young Mi and Ho will always see you as their protector now. Paused. I should be angry too. You have disrupted my family structure, but I find I cannot be angry with you. They stood in silence, watching the stars. One was very aware of beside him. She was close enough that he could see the subtle color shifts in her skin, the way her breathing made her shoulder rise and fall. He had never been this comfortable around an alien before, around anyone really. Tell me about human families, said suddenly. How do you choose your mates? We fall in love, one said. We find someone who makes us happy, who we want to spend time with. It's not always logical. And if the match is genetically poor, socially disadvantageous, we do it anyway. Humans are stubborn like that. Made a sound that might have been a laugh. That seems very inefficient. Maybe, but it makes us happy. Happy, tested the word. We have a similar concept, but it is not valued the way you value it. Duty, honor, efficiency, these are virtues. Happiness is secondary. That sounds lonely, one said again. This time did not disagree. As the weeks passed, one settled into his new role as chief security. The work was demanding but satisfying. He was good at it, better than he had expected. The other security officers respected him, even the non-humans. The station felt safer under his watch. But the best part of his days was the time he spent with and the children. It became a routine. Dinner together in quarters, teaching the twins about different species and cultures. Young Mi loved hearing stories about Earth. Ho was fascinated by human technology and watched it all with those penetrating eyes, learning, always learning. One evening, one brought a small music player to dinner. I want to share something with you, he said, human music. He played a piece by a Korean composer, something slow and beautiful. The children listened politely, but's reaction was different. Her skin shifted through a rainbow of colors. Her 4 hands came up to cover her face. When the music ended, she was crying. What was that? She whispered. Just music. Did you not like it? I have never felt anything like that before. It was, struggled for words. Beautiful, painful, perfect. Is this what you call art? Yes. We have nothing like this on my world. Nothing that makes you feel so much. Looked at him with wonder. How do humans live with such intensity of emotion? We just do, one said. We think it's worth it. Reached out, her hand hovering near his. May I? One took her hand. Her skin was warm, slightly rough in texture. They sat like that, hands clasped as the stars turned outside the window. Neither of them spoke. Words seemed unnecessary. The scandal started small, like most scandals do. A whisper here, a pointed look there. One noticed it first in the security briefings. Other officers would stop talking when he entered the room. They would exchange glances, meaningful but silent. He ignored it at first. People always gossiped on space stations. There was little else to do. But then the human ambassador called him to her office. Ambassador was a stern woman who did not waste time on pleasantries. One, I need to speak with you about your relationship with the diplomat. My relationship, one felt his stomach tighten. We're friends, she's repaying a life debt. The station sees it differently. You spend every evening with her and her children. You hold hands in public. You take walks together in the observation deck. The ambassador leaned forward. People are talking. They say you are trying to take Min's mate. That's not, one stopped. Was it true? He cared about more than he had cared about anyone in a long time, but taking another male's mate, that was wrong, dishonorable, and I are just friends. Are you? Be honest with yourself, one. What do you feel when you're with her? One could not answer. The truth was complicated. He enjoyed company. He thought about her when they were apart. He looked forward to their evenings together more than anything else in his day. Was that wrong? She was mated to Min, yes, but she had said herself there was no love between them. Did that matter? I don't know, he admitted finally. Then figure it out, the ambassador said, before this becomes a diplomatic incident. That evening, one tried to create distance. He sent a message saying he could not come to dinner, claiming work obligations. Replied immediately, "Is something wrong?" He stared at the message for a long time before typing back, "We need to talk." They met in a private conference room, neutral territory. Arrived with her skin shifting between worried green and confused purple. "What has happened? Did I do something to offend you?" "No, nothing like that." One struggled to find the right words. "People are talking about us. They think we're involved romantically. And this concerns you. You're mated to Min. It's wrong for me too," he gestured helplessly. "Whatever this is between us, it's wrong." Was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. "Let me explain something about mating bonds. They are contracts, legally binding but emotionally empty. Min and I were paired because our families wanted political alliance. We produce offspring to continue our genetic lines, but we do not share what you would call intimacy. We do not talk as you and I talk. We do not hold hands or share music or wonder about each other's thoughts. But you're still bonded to him." "Yes, and I will remain bonded until one of us dies or formally releases the other. That is our law." Stepped closer. "But our law does not account for what I feel when I am with you." "What do you feel?" "Curiosity, joy, peace, excitement." Her skin flickered through a dozen colors. "The language has no word for what you call love. We have respect, duty, compatibility. But this feeling, this wanting to be near someone just to be near them, this fear of losing them, this happiness in their happiness, we have no name for it." "That's love," one said quietly. "Then I am learning to love." Reached out, taking both his hands in two of hers. "Is that wrong, to feel something my species claims does not exist?" One wanted to say yes. It would be easier if he said yes, if he walked away now before this became more complicated. But he could not lie to her. "No, it's not wrong to feel." "What do we do?" "I don't know." They stood like that, hands clasped. Two beings from different worlds trying to navigate something neither of them fully understood. The conference room felt very small and very large at the same time. The next day, Youngmi and Ho asked one to teach them a human game. He brought them to the station's recreation area and taught them basketball, modified for 4 arms and lower gravity. The twins were terrible at first, all their limbs getting tangled together, but they laughed. Pure, joyful laughter that made one's chest ache. Min was watching from the observation gallery. One saw him there, 4 arms crossed, face unreadable. Their eyes met across the distance. Min's skin was dark red, the color of rage. Then he turned and walked away. "Father is angry," Ho said quietly, his joy fading. "He's not angry at you," one assured him. "He's angry at me." "Why?" "How did you explain adult complications to a child?" "Because I'm spending time with you that he should be spending with you." "But you saved us," Youngmi said. "You're our protector, that's how imprinting works." "Your father is your protector too." "He wasn't there," Ho said simply. "You were." Children had a way of cutting through complexity to the heart of truth. Min had not been there. One had. That simple fact had changed everything. That night brought something to their usual dinner, a small data crystal glowing faintly blue. "I want to show you something," she said. "A custom you should understand." She activated the crystal. A holographic display appeared, showing what looked like a legal document. "This is my mating contract with Min. It specifies our obligations, our shared resources, our offspring's care. Everything is detailed, precise, binding." One scanned the document. It read more like a business agreement than a marriage. "There's nothing here about affection. Because affection is not part of mating, we bond for practical purposes. Emotion is seen as unstable, unreliable." Skin shifted to sad gray. "My whole life I believed this was correct, that emotion made one weak. But since meeting you, since feeling what I feel, I wonder if my people are wrong." "What do you mean?" "Emotion gives meaning to action. You saved my children not because it was logical or because you would gain something, but because you felt it was right. That feeling, that immediate compassion, that is strength, not weakness." One thought about this. Your people have built an entire civilization on logic and duty. That's strength too. Perhaps, but what is a civilization without joy, without love, without the things that make existence more than mere survival? Touched the hologram, and it vanished. "I'm beginning to think we have lost something important in our pursuit of efficiency." Over the following weeks, one and continued their evening meetings, but now they talked about deeper things. Philosophy, culture, the nature of consciousness and connection. Was brilliant, asking questions that made one examine his own assumptions. Why did humans value individual choice over collective good? Why did they pursue happiness even when it was impractical? Why did they create art that served no survival purpose? One had no easy answers. He just knew that life without choice, without happiness, without art, was not life he wanted. The twins flourished under this strange new family structure. Youngmi developed a fascination with human literature, reading everything she could access about Earth. Ho became obsessed with engineering, spending hours with one learning about human technology. They were growing, changing, becoming more than typical larvae. They were becoming something new. One evening, Youngmi asked a question that stopped everyone cold. Can a human and a bee family? Skin flashed through confusion, surprise, and something that might have been hope. What do you mean, little one? You and one act like mates. You talk, share, care for each other. You care for us together. Isn't that family? It's complicated, said carefully. Why? Because father is still your mate. Yes. But you don't love father, you love one. The silence that followed was profound. Stared at her daughter, skin cycling through colors too fast to track. One felt his heart hammering. The child had said what neither adult had been willing to speak aloud. Yes, finally whispered, I love one. One stood, moving to where sat. He knelt beside her, taking her hands. I love you too. I don't know how this happened. I don't know what we do about it, but I love you. Youngmi and Ho looked at each other, their telepathic bond allowing silent communication. Then they both smiled. Good, Youngmi said. We love one too. But love, one knew, did not solve everything. Was still bonded to Min. Law was absolute. She could not break that bond without his consent or his death. And Min, proud and angry, would never consent. They were trapped in a situation with no easy resolution. We will find a way, said, as if reading his thoughts. Somehow we will find a way. One wanted to believe her. He wanted to believe that love was enough, that they could overcome the barriers of law and culture and species. But he was a practical man. He knew the universe did not always give happy endings. Still, as he sat there with and the children, her hands in his, he allowed himself to hope. Hope was very human, after all. Perhaps that was another strength his species possessed, the ability to hope even when logic said there was no reason to. We'll find a way, he agreed. The security alert came at 300 station time. One jerked awake, his training overriding the fog of sleep. His comm unit was screaming urgent alerts. Multiple unknown ships had dropped out of hyperspace near the station. They were not responding to hails. Their weapons were hot. One was in his armor and running to the command center within 2 minutes. The other security officers were already there, faces grim. The tactical display showed 6 ships in attack formation, surrounding the station. They were the same class of vessels used in the first terrorist attack. "They're back," someone muttered. The lead ship broadcast a message. The voice was mechanical, filtered through scramblers. "Station, we have returned to finish what we started. Surrender the diplomat and her offspring. You have 1 hour. After that, we will take them by force." The station commander, a grizzled with decades of experience, looked at one. "Get the family to the safe room. Now." One ran. The diplomatic wing was on the opposite side of the station. He used his security override to commandeer a transit pod, racing through the corridors at dangerous speeds. His mind was moving faster than the pod. 6 ships, professional terrorists. They had studied the station's defenses, waited for the perfect moment. This was not a random attack. This was planned. He burst into his quarters without announcing himself. She was already awake, the children behind her. All 3 were in defensive positions, skin flashing combat red. When she saw one, she relaxed slightly. "They have come back," she said, "not a question." "Yes, I need to get you to safety." "No," his voice was firm. "I will not hide while others fight for me." "Please, they want you and the children specifically. If you're in the safe room." "If I am in the safe room, I am trapped, a target waiting to be taken." She moved closer, her 4 hands checking weapons one had not known she carried. "I am a diplomat, yes, but I was also trained as a warrior. All nobility are. I will fight." There was no time to argue. One's comm crackled. "Chief, they're boarding, multiple breach points. They knew exactly where to hit." "On my way," one responded. He looked at, "Stay with me, protect the children." They moved together through the chaos. The station was in full lockdown, emergency bulkheads sealing sections to slow the attackers. But these terrorists were good. They moved with military precision, cutting through defenses faster than should be possible. Someone had given them detailed schematics. One led and the twins to a secondary security station, a fortified position with good sight lines. "Youngmi, Ho, stay behind this barrier. Do not move unless your mother or I tell you to." The children nodded, eyes wide with fear but trusting. They had been through this before. They knew one would protect them. The first wave of attackers hit the security station within minutes. They wore powered armor and carried military-grade weapons. One and his team fought back hard. The corridor became a war zone, plasma fire and explosions turning everything to chaos. Fought like nothing one had ever seen. Her 4 arms moved independently, each wielding a different weapon. She was fast, brutal, efficient. 2 attackers went down under her assault before they knew what hit them. One found himself fighting beside her, their movements somehow synchronized despite never having trained together. "Fall back," one ordered as more attackers poured in. His team retreated in good order, covering each other. They sealed the bulkhead behind them, buying precious seconds. "They're hurting us," said, breathing hard. Her skin was dark combat red, almost black, pushing us toward the diplomatic wing. She was right. Every route of escape was being cut off, forcing them in one direction. One checked his tactical display. The safe room was in the diplomatic wing. If they reached it, they would be trapped. But if they did not reach it, they would be caught in the open. "We need to split up," one said. "I'll draw them off. You take the children too." "No," grabbed his arm with 2 hands. "We stay together. That is the only way we all survive." Before one could argue, a new voice came over his comm. "It's Min." One's rival had been on the other side of the station when the attack started. He had not heard from Min since the alert went out. "Where are you?" "Close, I'm coming to you." There was a pause. "I know what you're thinking, that I might help them, that I might take this opportunity to reclaim my honor." "Are you?" You have stolen my family. My children call you protector. My mate looks at you the way she should look at me. I should let the terrorists take you all and be done with this humiliation. Another pause, longer this time, but they are still my offspring. Still am my mate, regardless of what she feels, and I am still a warrior of the Empire. What are you saying? I am saying we end this together, human. I may hate you, but I hate them more. Min appeared from a side corridor, armor scorched and damaged. He had been fighting hard. Blood, dark purple blood, ran down one arm, but his eyes were clear, focused. He looked at the children, and something softened in his expression. Father, Youngmi and Ho ran to him despite warning. Min caught them with all four arms, holding them close. I am here, he said quietly. I will not fail you again. The attackers hit them from two directions at once. One and Min moved without discussion, each taking one flank. They had competed against each other for years, studied each other's fighting styles, learned each other's weaknesses. Now they used that knowledge to complement each other perfectly. One's human unpredictability, his ability to think outside tactical norms, combined with Min's precision and superior reflexes. They were unstoppable. Attackers fell before them like wheat before a scythe. But there were too many. For every terrorist they dropped, two more appeared. They were being overwhelmed by numbers. The safe room, Min gasped. We have to reach it. They fought their way through the corridors, protecting the children while one and Min cleared the path. The safe room was just ahead, its armored door gleaming in the emergency lights. They were going to make it. Then an explosion ripped through the ceiling. Debris rained down. One felt something hit his shoulder, spinning him around. He went down hard. Through the ringing in his ears, he heard Youngmi screaming. Min grabbed one, hauling him to his feet with two arms while firing with the other two. Stay up, human. We're almost there. The door was open, was pushing the children inside. One stumbled forward, Min supporting him. They were 5 meters away. 4, 3. A plasma bolt caught Min in the back. The staggered but did not fall. He shoved one toward the door with all his remaining strength. Go, protect them. Min, no. But Min was already turning back toward the attackers, all 4 arms raised, weapons firing. He was buying them time. One knew it. Min knew it. Skin went white, the color of shock and grief. My mate is doing his duty, Min shouted over the weapon's fire. As I should have from the beginning. Go, live, raise our children well. Another plasma bolt hit him, then another. Min fell to his knees but kept firing, kept fighting, kept holding the line. One grabbed, pulling her into the safe room. The door began to close. Through the narrowing gap, one saw Min surrounded by enemies, saw him fall. Saw him stop moving. The door sealed with a final, terrible thud. Inside the safe room, silence. Youngmi and Ho were crying, their telepathic bond flooding with their father's final moments. Stood frozen, skin cycling through white and gray. One's own eyes were burning with tears he refused to shed. He saved us, one said quietly. At the end, he chose his family over his pride. Turned to him, her face a mask of grief. He released me. Did you hear his final words? He released me from our bond. It was true. Min's last act had been to give her what she wanted, what they both wanted. The gift had been purchased with his life. They waited in the safe room for 3 hours. Station security, reinforced by responding military ships, eventually drove off the terrorists. The all-clear sounded. When one finally opened the safe room door, he found Min's body where it had fallen. The warrior lay surrounded by enemy dead. He had taken 14 of them with him before the end. He died a hero, the station commander said. The Empire will honor him. One knelt beside his former rival, closing the unseeing eyes with gentle fingers. He died a warrior, a protector, a father. Youngmi and Ho stood over their father's body, tears streaming down their faces. But they did not pull away when one put his arms around them. They leaned into him, taking comfort from his presence. Stood apart, her grief too large for words, but when one reached out to her, she took his hand. They stood together over Min's body, honoring the male who had given everything so they could live. So they could be together. The funeral was held according to tradition. Min's body was cremated, his ashes sent back to his home world to be scattered in the imperial gardens. Representatives from a dozen species attended, paying respects to the warrior who had died defending his family. The Empire awarded him their highest honor posthumously, the Star of Valor. His name would be remembered. One stood with and the children throughout the ceremony, a human among. Some of the attending dignitaries looked at him with disapproval. Everyone knew about his relationship with. Everyone knew the scandal it represented, but no one said anything, not with Min's sacrifice so fresh in memory. After the funeral, into silence. She spent her days in her quarters speaking to no one, not even the children. One respected her need for space. Grief was a journey each person had to walk alone, but he worried. The vibrant, curious person he had come to love seemed to be fading, replaced by an empty shell. Youngmi and Ho stayed with one during this time. They needed stability, routine, someone to help them process their father's death. One did his best. He was not a father, had never planned to be one, but these children needed him. So he learned how to comfort them when they cried, how to answer their questions about death and sacrifice, how to help them remember their father as a hero, not just as the distant figure he had been in life. "Do you think father knew we loved him?" Youngmi asked one night. She was curled against one side, seeking warmth and comfort. "Yes, I think he always knew. But we loved you more, we still do." She looked up at him with eyes too old for her young face. "Does that make us bad?" "No, little one. Love isn't about choosing one person over another. You can love many people in different ways. You loved your father, you love your mother, you love me. All of those loves are real." "Did father know mother loved you?" One thought about this carefully. "Yes, I think he knew." "Is that why he was so angry?" "Partly, but also because he was hurt. When someone you care about chooses another person, it hurts. Your father was dealing with that pain the only way he knew how." Ho, who had been quiet, spoke up. "But he saved us anyway, even though it hurt. That's what love is sometimes, doing what's right even when it hurts." The children thought about this, their telepathic bond humming between them. Finally, Youngmi said, "We want you to be our father now, our honor guardian. Is that okay?" One felt his throat tighten. "That's a big decision. Are you sure?" "Yes, you saved us, you care for us, you love mother. You are our father in all the ways that matter." "Then I would be honored to be your guardian." 3 weeks after the funeral, finally emerged from her isolation. She came to one's quarters late one night, standing in the doorway like a ghost. Her skin was pale gray, and she looked thinner, as if grief had consumed part of her substance. "May I come in?" she asked quietly. "Always." Entered, moving to the window where she could see the stars. "I have been thinking about what Min did, his final act. He released me from our bond so I could be with you. He gave his life so we could live. Such a gift cannot be wasted. No one expects you to make decisions right now. You need time to grieve." "I have grieved. I will continue to grieve. Min was my mate for many years, the father of my children. I respected him even if I did not love him as you love. But grief does not mean I must stop living." She turned to face one. "He died so we could be together. To not be together would dishonor his sacrifice." One stood, crossing to her. "What are you saying?" "I am saying I want to be with you, formally, publicly, as your mate if you will have me." "You know I love you, but are you sure? Law your people." "My people will have to adapt. Min released me from our bond. I am free to choose a new mate, and I choose you." She took his hands in hers. "I choose you, one, not because of duty or life debt or political advantage. I choose you because I love you, because you make me feel things I never knew were possible, because when I am with you I am more myself than I have ever been." One pulled her close, holding her as carefully as he would hold something precious and fragile. "Then yes, I will be your mate. I will be a father to young me and Ho. I will spend my life trying to deserve the gift Min gave us." They stood together, human and two beings from different worlds who had found each other across the vastness of space. Outside, the stars turned in their eternal dance. Inside, two hearts beat in synchrony. The next day, Youngmi and Ho formally petitioned one to become their honor guardian. It was a ceremony, ancient and binding. The children stood before the station's assembled residents and declared their choice. Some in the crowd looked scandalized. A human raising offspring, unheard of, improper. But the children did not care about propriety. "One saved our lives," Youngmi announced in a clear voice. "He protected us when we needed protection. He comforted us when we needed comfort. He loved us when we needed love. He is our guardian in all the ways that matter." "We choose him," Ho added, "as is our right by law." No one could argue with that. Law was absolute. Children had the right to choose their guardian once they reached the age of reason. Youngmi and Ho were old enough. The choice was made. One knelt before the children, placing his hand over his heart in the human gesture of sincerity. "I accept this honor and this responsibility. I will protect you, guide you, and love you as long as I live." The children embraced him, all four of their arms wrapping around him. The crowd watched in silence. Some faces showed disapproval. Others showed curiosity. A few showed something like approval. Change was always difficult, but change was also inevitable. In the following months, life on station slowly returned to normal. One continued as chief security, resumed her diplomatic duties. Youngmi and Ho attended the station school, where they became minor celebrities. The human and children who saved their family. The offspring with two fathers, one who died and one who lived. Other species on the station began to notice the change in. She smiled more. She engaged in small talk, something she had never done before. She played with her children in public, laughing at their antics. Others watched this with varying reactions. Some were horrified at such emotional display. Others were curious. A few began to wonder if perhaps emotion was not weakness after all. A couple approached one day in the security office. "We wanted to ask you about mating," the female said hesitantly. One blinked. "I'm not sure I'm the best person to." "No, not the mechanics, we know those. We mean the emotion, the love. How do you do it?" So one explained, as best he could, about human relationships, about choosing partners based on feeling, not logic, about the messiness and beauty of emotional connection. The couple listened intently, asking questions that suggested they were feeling things their culture had no framework for. "We were paired by our families," the male said, "but we find we enjoy each other's company. Is that love?" "It could be. Love starts different ways for different people." "How do we know?" One smiled. "You just do, when you think about them and feel happy, when you want to share things with them, when their happiness matters as much as your own. That's love." The couple left, skin flickering with colors that might have been hope. One watched them go, wondering if he had just started a revolution. Love was contagious after all. Once people saw it was possible, they wanted it for themselves. 6 months after Min's death came to one with a proposal. "I want to formalize our bond. A human ceremony, not a contract. Will you marry me?" One laughed with pure joy. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." The wedding was small, held in the station's observation deck with the stars as witnesses. Youngmi and Ho stood beside them, the children's skin bright with happiness. The ceremony blended human and traditions, creating something new, something that belonged to both cultures and neither. When one kissed his bride, a cheer went up from the assembled guests. Humans and a dozen other species celebrating this union. It was strange. It was unprecedented. It was perfect. That night, as one and stood together watching the stars, she said, "I have been thinking about what you told me once, about humanity's strength." "What strength is that?" "You said humans don't calculate the odds before they care. You just care. You love without knowing if it will be returned. You sacrifice without expecting reward. You hope even when logic says there is no hope." She leaned against him, her head on his shoulder. "I understand now. That is not weakness. That is the greatest strength of all." "What changed your mind?" "You did, men did, our children did. You showed me that emotion makes life worth living, that love gives meaning to everything else." She looked up at him. "My people have built a great civilization on logic and duty, but you humans have built something greater. You have built lives filled with joy." One kissed her forehead. "I think both are important, logic and emotion, duty and choice. Maybe what we're building together is a balance between them. Perhaps we are certainly building something new." Youngmi and Ho ran up to them, laughing, chasing each other in a game only they understood. They had grown so much in the past months. They were becoming their own people, shaped by both precision and human warmth. They were something new too, something better. One gathered the children close, one arm around each of them, the other arm around his family. Strange, mixed, unconventional, but his. He had never planned for any of this. He had just been doing his job, saving children who needed saving. But that single act of compassion had changed everything. "What are you thinking?" asked. "That I'm the luckiest being in the galaxy." "Because you have us." "Because I have you, all of you." He looked down at the children. "And because I learned something important." "What's that?" Youngmi asked. "That family isn't about biology or contracts or species. It's about choosing to love each other, choosing to stay together, choosing to build something beautiful out of chaos." He smiled. "We're proof that love can bridge any gap, even the gap between stars." Skin glowed with colors one had never seen before. Joy, peace, contentment, love, all swirling together in a beautiful pattern. "Yes, we are proof." They stood together, a human and two children who belonged to both worlds and neither. Above them, the stars shone eternal, and below them, on station, other beings watched and wondered. If love could work across such differences, what else was possible? The future was uncertain. There would be challenges ahead, cultural differences to navigate, children to raise, a galaxy that did not always accept change, but one was not worried. They had each other, they had love, and sometimes that was enough. More than enough. Everything.